So the day has come where I decided to do the turbo swap on the Mazda. About 3 hours in or so, got the turbo out, manifolds off. Also, if you've ever done one of these, if you can see or not, there's an oil feed line, there's a bolt onto the manifold. It's a real bitch. Gave me a little bit of a hard time. So, we'll go over some of the parts on this thing. And we're doing B&R S4, set up for external wastegate. Also got a firewall heat shield we're going to do. Got the adapted performance exhaust manifold with the external wastegate on it. Got the fancy dump tube. And we're doing the JBR 3.5-inch intake. And we're going to do AEM meth injection. I'm going to turn this thing up a little bit. Try to get around 400 out of this thing, or close to it. And when it decides to eject a rod out of the block, I have some man-leaf rods, small pistons that we're going to do. We'll probably do that before we throw a rod through the block. And then I have the old donor engine over here. It's kind of filthy. Also, I'm still going to run, I have an aftermarket top mount intercooler. I'm still going to run that instead of a front mount. See what kind of power we can push out of that thing. So, we'll see if we can't get this turbo on here tonight. Or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. So far it hasn't been too bad to do. The only issue, like I said, I had was with that little bolt on the oil feed line that bolts to the manifold. I didn't know that was there, so I was kind of having an issue getting the manifold out. So didn't need to pull the alternator, not yet at least. Nothing else really gave me an issue. Had to use a little bit of heat on some of the turbo bolts and the manifold bolts. Downpipe bolts weren't terrible. The downpipe's only been on the car for about a year, so wasn't too bad. So stick around and we'll see how this car goes. Well, here we are a couple hours later. Got the manifolds on, wastegates on. Had to use an elbow because the dump tube wouldn't clear anything. So just gonna be right there for now. This manifold, you're not gonna be able to see it because everything's in the way. I had to make my own nut for the one of the rear turbo mounting bolts because it didn't fit in there. So got all that on, all the brackets are on. Everything fit real nice. Got the JBR intake is in there. Had to figure that out. Now it didn't fit right in there. I had to extend the coolant line that comes out of the back of the engine for the heater core. Had to extend that. Probably about a 2-inch piece of 5/8 heater hose, because the heater hose was in the front of the inlet of the turbo, so that wasn't working. I'm also going to have to relocate my ECU or get a smaller battery, get the 51R battery, I don't know yet. And then I was going to use I have an ETS big top mount I was going to use, but I decided to ditch that. Went with the treadstone TR8 with the CX piping kit. So hopefully that works out okay. Piping kit's kind of polished. Blue couplers are really not going to match since everything kind of going with the accent color. It's going to be red. So everything else is pretty much done. Just got to do some plumbing, clean some stuff up. Big old MAF housing, big filter. This thing didn't even really fit that great. I probably could have looked at the instructions on Graveyard's website. Probably would have gave me a little better idea of how exactly it should go. Still gotta put the bypass hose on and all that piping and all that stuff. I'm not worried about that yet though. We'll do that and everything else in the next one, I guess. But that's the progress. About 5 hours in. Just taking my time screwing around. Also, I went with adapted performance for this exhaust manifold. Right from Adapted Performance, not the eBay knockoff one, so hopefully it works out good. I bought the firewall heat shield from them, and with the external wastegate option, you see in there, you really don't have a whole lot of room to get in there and do anything. And if you can see down there, I still got to move the engine back a little bit, so it's going to be tight. And as far as getting that manifold in there, it was a pain in the nuts. I've seen some guys taking the alternator off and taking all the studs out for the manifold. I didn't do that. I pulled the mount out of here. I have CPE mounts. I pulled the mount out, and I lowered the engine way down as far as it would go, and that gave me just enough room to squeeze that in there. So my filthy ass engine, 156,000 miles on this thing. See if we can't sling a rod through the block.